The foraging update right now is officially releasing on the main Hypixel server, and basically everyone is expecting this to be the biggest update in like 5 years since the Dungeons update. And with the update being so massive, there are a ton of different things that you need to do to get ahead in your foraging progression. So in this video, I'm going to be going over every single aspect of foraging progression, including Heart of the Forest, all of the new foraging gear, including gear that isn't new but that's still useful in the update, foraging pets, the new armors, axes, perks, and literally everything that you need to get a max foraging setup in the new update. Potentially the most important things for progressing in foraging are the new axes and the new armors. If you're really a beginner, the first axe that you should get for starting out in the park is the spruce axe. The spruce axe is basically just a renamed jungle axe, and it's in the spruce collection now. It's at spruce 2. It's very easy to get, and it'll help you starting out in the park. When you do the initial quests in the park to unlock the island, and by the way, the quests are like really easy, just give like woods to NPCs. When you do that quest, the NPCs are basically going to give you the first foraging armor set, and it's like made up of their clothes. I guess they're giving you their clothes. It's kind of weird, but like whatever. The armor gives you 24 foraging fortune, but like that's a little bit useless because as soon as you get onto the new foraging update, if you go to this NPC over right here, Amori, he will sell you a new armor set right here, the Canopy armor, and this armor set is just infinitely better than the one you get from the park because the one from the park gives you foraging fortune, but this gives you 24 sweep, and sweep and foraging fortune like aren't even comparable. The sweep is just so much more useful because that 24 sweep, if you're using a spruce axe, you'll literally be able to break 6 times as many logs per swing. The armor costs 500,000 coins total, and if you really can't afford this, just like farm any of the new items in the update. They're all going to be extremely overpriced on the bazaar right now because the update just came out. And like I said, it's just really important to buy this because the sweep is just going to be so useful for like speedrunning the progression. The NPC also sells these 2 starter axes, but to be fair, they're both worse than the tree capitator. So if you already have a tree capitator, or if you just want to buy one from the auction house, there's really no reason to buy these. This one for 5,000 coins is like kind of a good deal if you really can't afford a tree capitator, but it's definitely just a starter axe. But the axes that you really want to go for are the ones in the fig collection. The fig hue right here, and its upgrade, which is the fig stone splitter. So if you max it out, the fig hue is slightly better than the tree capitator, but the fig stone splitter gives you 17 extra fortune, and it's just by far the best axe in the game. And this is crazy to me because its recipe really only uses about a total of 100,000 fig logs, which with all the sweep and foraging fortune you're going to get from all kinds of things in this video, it's not going to take long at all to get literally the best axe in the game. Big surprise, the best armor in the game is also in the fig collection, and it's basically just the fig armor. And this fig armor gives the same sweep as Canopy armor, but it also gives 120 foraging fortune, which is kind of insane. And once again, the recipe is shockingly cheap. It's just crafted like normal armor, but with fig stones, which are each 25,000 fig logs. And that might seem like a lot, but I really think that this armor set's only going to end up being worth like a few million coins total once the crazy update like price spikes go back down, because everything's going to cost 35 billion coins when the update comes out. And that's a good thing because that means I'm going to be able to sell everything for 35 billion coins. So the best axe and the best armor are extremely easy to get, which I guess is good because at least it's not locked behind the end game like the Crimson Isle is. And for the axes and armors, that's basically it. There aren't any more that I haven't talked about for some reason. The other huge thing, which is going to be just as important, if not more important than the axes and armors, is the Heart of the Forest. You get the Heart of the Forest literally right when you enter the island by talking to this person. And it's just a skill tree of like 30 different perks that you can unlock and upgrade by foraging. If you've ever mined in the Dwarven Mines, you'll know that the Heart of the Mountain is insane for how many different perks it gives you. And the Heart of the Forest is like the Heart of the Mountain, but even better. Literally the first perk that you unlock just by stepping onto the island gives you 1 sweep per level. And sweep is the best stat to have out of all the new stats in the update because cutting down more logs per swing is just so powerful for getting XP and logs and for getting Forest Whispers and Heart of the Forest XP and literally everything. And Heart of the Forest XP unlocks new tiers of the Heart of the Forest, but Forest Whispers level up the individual perks that you unlock. Like you can see here, I can spend Forest Whispers to level this up. And this is literally the exact same as the Heart of the Mountain, except that they renamed Powder to Forest Whispers, so it's really funny. To get Forest Whispers and Heart of the Forest XP, the best method is literally just to cut down the fig trees, which are like the starter tree on the island. And when you're cutting these down, you have to start at the trunk and then go to the top, or else you're going to get like a 50% penalty on your sweep. There are also the mangrove trees down here, which you cut from top to bottom. But sweep is less effective on them, and they're mined slower, and they basically just give the same amount of XP anyway, so I don't think there's any reason to do these for Heart of the Forest XP. So first of all, whenever you cut a log down, whenever you break 1 log, you get a couple Forest Whispers. But most importantly, when you finish cutting down the entire tree, you're going to get something called a tree gift. And if you hover over the rewards here, you can see I got 40 Heart of the Forest XP, and 100 Forest Whispers. On average, I've been getting about 100 Forest Whispers and 50 Heart of the Forest XP, whether I'm doing a fig tree or a mangrove, but it just varies a little, I think, depending on how big the tree was. And I also got 5,000 Foraging XP, so if Foraging was hard to level before the update, it's going to be even easier than mining is right now after the update. But leveling and upgrading the Heart of the Forest is only half the equation, because some of its perks are just incredibly useless, but some of them are so good that you want to have them active all the time, no matter what you're doing, and fully maxed out. So I'm just going to go here into the menu, and I'm going to tell you which perks you should unlock at each level, because you actually get a limited amount of tokens. Every level you get 2 tokens, plus you can get 2 more from the center of the forest if you max it out, which I know it says free right now, but it's probably going to cost like 1,000,000 Forest Whispers. So first, you're required to get the Sweep and Foraging Fortune perks, because like there's nowhere else you can go. And guys, the alpha literally just actually closed, and Skyblock went into maintenance too, but I'm still going to continue the guide. Alright, so the update is now officially out, like on the main server, and I'm on there right now. And that means I have to redo all these stupid quests again. So yeah, like I said, these two you're forced to get them. And then at level 2, both of these perks that you can choose from with your 1 extra token in the mountain that you're going to have, they both have like nothing to do with foraging, and they're not very useful. So you can just get whichever one of those you want for whatever purpose. But then finally, when you get to level 3, you're going to get 2 more tokens, and this ability right here is basically useless. So I think that you should go with this one right here, Axe Toss, so that you get a good ability, and then also 250 gifts, so the first 250 tree gifts you get are better. Alternatively, you could do damage boost, which is useless, and then get Luck of the Forest, but I would really only ever do this if I was going to do a lot more than 250 trees a day, that's a lot more trees than it sounds like. Each tree is going to take probably like 20-30 seconds, so I mean 250 trees is going to take you a couple hours of non-stop playing. And then at level 4, you're going to have 2 more tokens, and one thing you could do here is get Early Bird, and then get whatever else you want, because none of the other ones after that are very useful. Or you could reset and go totally down this path, damage boost, Luck of the Forest, and then get Foraging Madness and Lottery. These are both pretty good. They're like Mining Madness and Sky Mall, and they're both very useful. But then, when you get to tier 5, you're going to get up to 4 more tokens. You'll get 3 automatically, but then if you level this center of the forest up to level 5, you'll get a 4th token. So what I would do is I would get Foraging Fortune, Strength Boost, that's 2 tokens. Damage Boost, Luck of the Forest, that's 2 more tokens. And then Foraging Madness, and then go over here, Speed Boost, that's a total of 6 tokens so far. And we should have 10. So then Axe Toss, 250 gifts, Early Bird, and Tree Whisper as the final 4 perks. So like this. There, and there. And I think that that's the best tree at Heart of the Mountain 5 if you have all the tokens. If you don't, then honestly, you're either going to have to choose between Foraging Madness and Tree Whisperer. I would go with Tree Whisperer just because you're going to get more Forest Whispers, and those matter more long-term than Sweep and Foraging Fortune, just for leveling this up even more. And then at Tier 6, the only 3 useful perks are Homing Axe, Forest Strength, and Forest Speed. Forest Speed and Forest Strength are pretty good, especially if you have a lot of strength and speed. And Homing Axe is just kind of like convenient because you don't have to aim very much. And it's also just really cool, so I'm probably going to get Homing Axe because it's just really cool. And then at Tier 7, all 3 are actually useful. The middle one is very useful. It's kind of like Mining Spread. You're going to have a 10% chance that when you throw your axe, it just goes to another tree and gets a whole nother swing. So that's really good. But then this half empty, half full thing, basically if you have half full and you're next to someone with half empty, you both get a bunch of stats, and it works vice versa too. So only get one of these, and only do it if you're going to be foraging with someone else or in a group. But if you are doing that, then they're pretty useful, honestly. And at Tier 6, this could be good. It could definitely be better than the axe throwing ability, but only if you have a ton of mana. And even then, you have to sacrifice all your mana. You won't be able to teleport around for a little while. And it's just something that you could use if you want, but it's definitely more complicated than the first ability. And that's all for these levels, but the Heart of the Mountain is not the only thing that gives permanent stat bonuses. There are 2 different NPCs in the village on the new island that'll give you Sweep, extra Foraging XP, and Foraging Fortune in exchange for completing milestones. And these are really important to do because they'll actually give you a really good amount of extra stats. So first, this NPC here, Swoop, you're going to have to complete his whole quest where you cut down his tree back here. I'm going to have to do that right now. Okay, but now that I've completed that quest, if you click him, you can get into this menu. And he has Fig and Mangrove milestones. And this guy also shows you just how stupid mangrove trees are, because I can break 7.2 Fig logs and only 1 mangrove log, and they give the same amount of Forest Whispers and XP. But basically, whenever you cut down an entire one of these trees, you get progress towards a milestone. And when you complete the fig milestones, you get 1 sweep per milestone, and there's 7 of them. And it's the exact same with mangrove, but you get 2 sweep per milestone. And both of them max out at 5k trees, which in the grand scheme of things isn't that many. You're going to have to probably break a lot more than that just to get to Heart of the Mountain 7 and max all that out anyway. And the other NPC that has milestones is David Hunterborough, and his quest is even longer than Swoop's, so it's probably going to take me like 15 minutes. Okay, so I finally finished his quest, and it did take a really long time. But the reason that he's so important is because after you do his quest, he gives you an item called David's Cloak. It's meant to be a hunting item, but it's also the best foraging cloak in the game by far. And that's because David has a bunch of different milestones you can unlock to get the cloak extra stats. One group of these milestones, the Forest Hunts milestones, actually gets you up to 45 extra foraging fortune just for doing these milestones. And you level this up by just hunting forest creatures, which is basically any like little mob that flies around. There are a lot of them on the new island. And if you really want to know how to do that, I uploaded like a full hunting guide yesterday, but it's not as hard as it sounds. But then the other group of milestones is just ridiculously overpowered. It's literally so overpowered, I don't know how this made it into the final game. When I was on the alpha, I was like, there's no way this is actually making it into the game. And getting this milestone to level 30 literally gives you 100 sweep, which I think is almost as much sweep as you get from everything else in the game combined. And then it also gives you 5 foraging wisdom, so you level up foraging faster. David's Cloak is just one of the 4 foraging equipment pieces, though. The best foraging necklace, belt, and gloves are all in the Mangrove collection. They're called the Locket, the Vine, and the Grippers. And they all require different amounts of mangrove logs and sea loomies, which you just get from the lake in the middle of the island. They're really easy to get. They're all over. And by the way, fun fact, the lake kind of kills you after like 10 seconds swimming in it because it's toxic, just like the Mississippi River in real life. But basically, each piece of the mangrove equipment will give you 5 foraging fortune and 1 sweep, which isn't that much, but it's the best foraging equipment, so I guess you need it to get a max setup. Also, another thing is that in each of the 2 log collections, there's a new attribute, and the attribute helps you with foraging. Basically, it just gives you extra fortune for the log whose collection it's in. So in Fig collection, it's Sparrow, and in Mangrove collection, it's Seagull. And they go up to level 10, just like all the other new attributes. And there are actually a bunch of other attributes that will help you with foraging. Right here, you can see how to get all of them. This is a spreadsheet. But basically, these right here are all the foraging ones. And they have different effects. Some of them are more useful, some of them are less useful. But like in general, like 100 sweep towards fig trees, 100 sweep towards mangrove, that's really big. A lot of these are really good, like axe games plus 30 sweep on throw. These are really important, so look at these ones here. These are very important to maxing out your setup. And then there's one more called Ultimate DNA. It gives you 10 fortune in like all 3 of the skills that have fortune, but it's like really, really difficult to get. It's one of the most difficult attributes to get. If you really want to know how to get it, you can leave a comment on the video and I'll tell you how to get it, but I can't. It would take me like 4 minutes to explain it right now. If you want though, after the update's been out for a couple days, you can just buy it on the bazaar once they start to come in. Or if you really want to get it yourself, it just requires a lot of lava fishing. And guys, one really important feature of the foraging update is Agatha contests. And if you think this sounds like Jacob's contest, then you're right, because it's literally a carbon copy of Jacob's contest, but for foraging. Kind of reminds me of the whole Heart of the Forest thing. But all you have to do is harvest any resource on the island, including actually hunting the fish in the lake. But really the best method is going to be cutting down the trees. And when you do that, you get a ranking in the contest, and you get Agatha's coupons, like Jacob's tickets, Agatha's coupons, right? And there are a lot of useful items you can buy with the coupons. A lot of them require you to have done a certain amount of contests to unlock certain rankings so that you can buy new things in the shop. But the important ones for a foraging setup are the best foraging reforge for axes, and an ultimate enchant for armor, and also a foraging fortune talisman. And then you can also buy a perk that grants you permanent extra sweep and fortune, and also perks that give you extra foraging fortune based on your personal best points in the events. And those are just the things related to foraging. This is actually a really huge shop. There's a new pet and a ton of other things too. Another shop on the island is up in this little castle up here. It's the Forest Essence shop, and I know how much people on Iron Man love essence shops, but this one should be a lot quicker to level because every time you cut down a tree, you're getting a lot of forest essence, so the essence should come a lot quicker than any other essence in the game right now. But some of the perks in the shop are actually really helpful for foraging. Right now the menu is disabled, but I have the perks written down. So in here, Forest Training is going to give you Foraging Wisdom, Lumberjack is going to give you Foraging Fortune, and Axed is going to make all stats on your axe, including its fortune and sweep and stuff, higher. Now guys, I'm sure you've all heard about the Jade Dragon pet. I think that the Jade Dragon is one of the first things I saw about the update, and it's true that it is now the best foraging pet in the game by far, And I'm really excited to have another level 200 pet in the game, especially for a skill besides combat. But it literally costs 600 million coins, so if you want to know like what the second best pet is, it's the Ocelot pet because it gives you plus 30% foraging XP. You'll need an epic Ocelot to get this perk, and it's really important because, I mean, foraging level gets you foraging fortune, plus, I mean, leveling up skills just makes you look more endgame anyway. The Ocelot pet is a pretty good pet, and the monkey pet just kind of sucks now that axes don't have cooldowns anymore since that was like its main thing. But anyway, one more thing in the mangrove collection is the mangrove gem. The mangrove gem is just the best reforged stone for armor for foraging, so you can put it on your fig armor and you'll get like an extra 20 foraging fortune. I think I'm done with all the collections now, but there are 2 ultimate enchants you can get for axes in the update. One of them is called Missile. You get it from Fig Tree Gifts, and it gives your axe throwing ability a 10% buff. And that's like 10% per level. It goes up to level 5. And the other one you get from Mangrove Tree Gifts, and it gives you sweep every time you break a log with your axe, so it's kind of like a sweep combo enchant. And after all that new stuff, although like honestly I thought there might have ended up being even more stuff than what I've talked about so far in the update, so I'm actually surprised that the max foraging setup is so simple. But the last thing I'm going to talk about is boosters. If you talk to this guy Sawyer, he'll tell you about boosters, and he'll actually sell you a pretty useful booster. And one thing to know about boosters is that you can actually apply multiple of them to the same item, so there's no reason not to apply them. And he'll sell me a foraging fortune booster. On the alpha, I actually had a foraging wisdom booster, which comes from Fig Tree Gifts, and I was going to show that to you guys, but basically you can apply both of them. This foraging fortune booster will give you 15 extra foraging fortune, and the wisdom one will give you, I think, 3 extra foraging wisdom. And you can put them on any of the items you see here, so you can actually put them on each of your armor pieces and also your axe and each of the equipment pieces. So you're going to be able to put a lot of boosters on your equipment, and they're going to be pretty useful. And something that's really funny is that to put a booster on an item, you literally just put in an anvil with the booster. So I always thought there was going to be some like combination menu here, but it's literally just an anvil. And in the anvil menu, you can see the stats that I get from the booster in light blue. So that's like a new color of stat on an item. And it kind of reminds me of things like gemstones and hot potato books. But anyway, guys, I really hope that I covered everything related to foraging progression in the new update. I literally could not find any guide that covered even like half of this stuff, so I had to combine a ton of information from all the different sources I found. So if I missed anything, like please comment down below and I'll add it to a pinned comment. And yeah, have fun in the foraging update. It's officially out now.